Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Bright webinar. We are glad you are here. I am Tanya, and introduce yourselves. This is Akira, and this is
I'm
Art.
Akira. Welcome.
Hi, Kier. Hi, everyone.
So everyone, thanks for coming. Today, I'm going to lead the webinar, and Akira's going to kind of back me up for if I get stuck. And I'm going to basically introduce the idea of integrating security into unit testing for JavaScript. And today, together, we are all going to set up the Bright scanner, and we are going to look at an example app that happens to be rather insecure. And then we're going to run some tests on it. And spoiler alert, there might be something wrong with it. And then we're going to talk about the results and how we could code that better next time. And then we'll wrap up. That is a lot to try to accomplish in an hour to an hour and a half. So hang on to your boots. One thing I want to mention is that if you have a Mac and you have the new Mac with the Mac chip, so not the Intel chip, but the M1, you might have some problems running Docker. And that's one of the ways that you can install Bright and one of the ways that you can run sec testers. So you would probably want to choose one of the other ways of installing our repeater. And when we get to it, I'll mention this again, but I just want to make sure that everyone's kind of ready for that. Okay, so I want to talk about integrating security into unit testing for JavaScript. And I think hopefully everyone that is going to be here is here right now. Oh, we have a question. Running Docker with the M1 chip is fairly easy. You can enable a setting in your Docker compose file called platform Linux-AMD64, and it will run like normal. Oh, Jonathan, you rock. That's awesome. Thank you. So yeah, so that's excellent. Cool. So I'm going to actually leave that in the Q&A section. So when we get to that part, I could hopefully the chat will be free then, and I can share it with everyone. Okay, so let's start. So yes, so it's the workshop. You know how sometimes they'll be like Spider-Man, the musical. So this is like unit testing, but it's the workshop. Okay, so welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. And so you can get the slides from here. So hopefully all of you are like, we trust Bright enough to go to this tiny URL. It's a link to these slides in Google Docs, I believe,
Yeah,
so that you can
it
follow
is.
along. I'm hoping that everyone has the slides ready to go who wants to, and I was thinking we could start going through the stuff now. Okay, so next, here's what you're going to need today. So you're going to need a GitHub account. We hope that you have one. You're going to need Docker Desktop. We can take a little bit of time to install that if you want. It's ridiculously easy. Docker and GitHub are both, they know about installation. They're good. And then a text editor or some sort of code editor. It's up to you. So I'm going to use Visual Studio Code because quite frankly, even though I don't work at Microsoft anymore, I'm allowed to be a fangirl still. So I use Visual Studio Code when I do stuff like this, and that's fine. Okay, so let's go through this. So we're going to talk about wins today. We're going to talk about security in a positive manner. So a lot of us, when we talk about security, it's a lot of doom and gloom. There's some fear, uncertainty, and doubt sometimes. But instead, we want to talk about what's awesome. So you're going to get a bunch of wins today. So you're going to learn something about application security, and that is a win. We're going to do this introduction to unit security testing, and that's a coding win. I'm getting some support in the chat that Visual Studio Code is a sweet IDE. You're going to learn about Bright and get to try out our scanner, and so that's a tooling win. So you are participating in the Sec Tester workshop, so that's a hands-on win. And then there's going to be questions at the end. Hi, Qin. And then that is a participation win. So the chat is open now. People can say hi and everything, which is awesome. Oh, hello, everyone from everywhere. This is so wonderful. We can hear you now. Thank you. This is so much better. I like when I know what you're saying. Okay, so in the chat, which win do you want to focus on the most? Like, what is the most important part of this workshop for you? Like, which thing, like, do you want to learn about AppSec? Are you excited about security unit testing? Are you excited about getting some hands-on experience? Oh, people from all over. That's awesome. So what personally are excited about the tooling win? Awesome. That's nice. Argentina, Brazil. Someone put a flag and I don't know what country that's from. And I feel like I need to learn more geography. Germany, San Francisco. Awesome. The UK is amazing. Excellent. Thank you, everyone. This is great. Yes, a skill for a career switch. Nice. Unit security testing. Excellent. Awesome. Colombia. So nice. I've been to Venezuela and I went near the Colombian border, but we decided we didn't want to cross the border because quite frankly, I was like, are we allowed in there? Do we have the visas we need? I don't want to show up unprepared. So we decided we would do it next time. Oh, Mohammed, so nice to see you. Awesome. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. This is great. Oh, someone is asking if you can post the link for the slides in the question and answer in response to Chris, because the Zoom chat is blocked for him at work. Kira, would you mind doing that? Awesome. Okay, so who am I besides like the person that is talking the most so far? So I'm Tanya Janka. I'm the Director of Developer Relations and Community at Bright. And so that's pretty sweet. I get to do stuff like this. I get to write blogs. I get to go to conferences, and I find that fun. I'm the CEO and founder of We Hack Purple, which is a giant online community focused on security and learning. There's free courses in there. There's videos, articles, live events, conversations, and we even have an entire channel that is just dedicated to silly memes about security. I wrote a book called Alice and Bobbler and Application Security. I've been in tech, so last month marks 25 years. And I am a nerd at large on the internet. That's basically the gist, is I'm on the internet a lot, and I'm excited about AppSec. And so who's Akira, the other person you see? Akira, do you want to do your slide?
Sure, yeah. Can you just click through it? Okay, so I'm a software developer and an educator. I've been developing software for a few years. Started my like official journey in 2018. I have been working in tech formally since 2019. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've done webmastering. I've done development. I've done a ton of education, a lot of ed tech. And I'm a former and current musician, which means I love to collaborate. So when I wrote this talk, it was very much, hopefully, a very collaborative experience. So we're all going to have a lot of questions and discover some new things today. And one of the great things about a workshop is that you get to do things with another actual live human being. So that's very exciting. And I'm really looking forward to collaborating with everybody. So that's me.
Awesome. And Akira didn't brag quite enough. So she also made this entire workshop. And so I am presenting it looking really smart because of all of her work. So just wanted to say that. And everyone, when you comment in the chat, you can comment just to the host and panelists if you want to. That's the default. But if you want to talk to everyone, you got to click the little drop down and drag it down to everyone, which is just below that, or pick a person that you want to talk to. Cool. Okay, so number one, the first win so far, learning about AppSec. So let's learn a little bit about AppSec. So what is application security? What is Tanya talking about? So it's an umbrella term to describe anything that you do to ensure that you're writing and shipping secure software. So this could be you running, like hiring a penetration tester to come in and do a formal security test of one of your systems and try to find every possible thing that's wrong. It could be you adding a security testing tool to your CI/CD so that it can automatically find some vulnerabilities for you, and then hopefully you fix them. It could be you attending a threat modeling workshop with someone from your security team and coming up with potential risks or threats to one of the apps that you built. So anything that you do to try to ensure your software is secure is a part of AppSec. And it can be quite formal, and you can have an entire program, but any of those things that you do is fighting the good fight and we are pleased you're doing it. So AppSec has always been owned by security, and the thing that most people have heard of is penetration testing, but that's just one thing that's under a giant umbrella of AppSec. So there's lots of different activities you can do. And so quite often I like to link these activities to the system development lifecycle. So whether you're doing waterfall, you're doing agile, you're doing DevOps, when you're gathering the requirements of what you're going to build, I want there to be some security requirements. When you're doing the design, it would be nice if you could do a threat model, or at least meet with a security person and have them look at your design and point out any potential security risks, and then we can make it better. And so whether you're doing the affinity sign, you're doing tons of little circle sprints, or you're doing one giant, huge waterfall, it doesn't matter. If you add security to that process, you will end up with a more secure product at the end. And we are a fan of that at Bright. And so what is good AppSec? I believe that if we do, okay, so this is a really hard question, Akira. I could answer this for literally the rest of the workshop. So I believe that we need to set our software developers up for success. And this means enabling them every opportunity we have for them to create more secure software. So this can mean giving them secure code training. This can mean giving them security tools so they can check it themselves and they can scan it themselves. Like teaching them how to do security unit testing, giving them as much power as they can, because there's so many of them compared to us. So GitHub issued this paper in January of this year, and they said that because they really know how many devs there are. They really know, because they're so huge. And so they said there's around 500 software developers for every one security professional. And so that means it doesn't matter how many evenings and weekends you work as a security professional, if just the devs do one tiny thing, it will have much bigger impact. So those are some of the things with good AppSec. Okay, so why is application security important? Well, in the rush to develop features, test bugs, and maintain the software, basically due to budgets, due to having problems trying to hire a security person, due to we always have done it this way, why would we change it? Security takes a backseat a lot, and this is a problem because then we're making software that's not secure. If we detect vulnerabilities sooner, that means it's easier to fix them, and that means it's cheaper to fix them. So if you are a dev and you're testing out your app yourself and you're thinking about pushing it to the CI/CD, but you're I'm going to put it on the dev server and kind of test it there some. If you test for vulnerabilities then and find some and fix them, you don't have to switch context. You don't have to find time in a schedule of some other project you're working on because you're already working on this. You save tons of time, and you haven't bothered to run all the formal QA tests and do all the other efforts that the other teams do. It's just right there, and you just add some extra time to that, rather than, if you find this vulnerability in prod, that's a lot different and a lot more expensive. So whose responsibility is this now? So it depends on who you ask, but it's a goal of mine and of Bright's to make some of that responsibility software developers. If software developers would do some of the security work, that means the AppSec folks can get way more done. And just because the number is 500 to 1, but also because software developers are right in it at that moment. They have the context, they know what they're doing. If I try to go in and fix your code, I'm wandering through a jungle. I have no idea where anything is. I don't know what anything's supposed to do. I don't know if I'm messing stuff up, and really not helping by creating new bugs that are not security related. And so everything that you can do is good. Okay, so now we want to talk about win number 2, which is learning about unit security testing. And so, so security testing, unit security testing, actually, let me go into it instead of just sometimes when I see the board or the highlight thing, I want to just tell you the whole thing right away, but I'm going to try to actually respect the flow of this program instead of just blurting everything out. Okay, so what is security unit testing? So generally when we do unit testing, we do positive tests. And that's what a lot of QA does, are positive tests. So does my product do what it's supposed to do. And that's awesome. That is pretty much number one for most people. Does it do, like, is it supposed to like send a calendar invite to my friend and book lunch with them? Did it do it? Yes, awesome. But that's a positive test. When we do security testing, a lot of what we're doing is actually negative testing. So does it not do stuff it definitely should not do? Like when I try to invite my friend to lunch, does it not invite them? Does it invite 5 more people it's not supposed to? Does it invite an attacker? Does it let people spy on us while we're at lunch? There's all these other things that are negative tests. And what we're testing for is that it does not do those things. It only does what it's supposed to do. And so when we do unit tests, they're usually positive tests, but when we do security unit tests, they're negative tests. We're making sure it does not do stuff that we fear it would do. So usually bad stuff like breaking privacy, so breaking confidentiality, ruining the integrity of the system, making it so that it's not available when people are trying to use it. So we are testing for those things. Okay, so AppSec practices as soon as possible. So if you have been reading any of the marketing material from any of the AppSec or software security companies, all of us are like, we need to shift security left, man. And when we say that, what we mean is if you draw the system development lifecycle out on a piece of paper, and because my screen is mirrored, I'm not sure if I'm showing you left or right, but just pretend I'm doing it the correct way. But the earlier you are in the system development lifecycle, the further left you are on a piece of paper. And so they're like, we want to shift left, we want to push security left. What we're meaning is please start sooner, because the sooner we do it, the faster, the cheaper, faster, and easier it is to fix security bugs. And so we're showing you some of the things here that you could do sooner, but ideally, like from your kickoff meeting, it's like, who is the security person who's going to partner with us throughout this project? Hi, I'm Tanya. I'm your security nerd. I'll be here to answer questions along the way. And so the earlier you can do it, the better the results will be for you and the cheaper it will be for you. All right. Oh, there we go. Unit testing frameworks. Oh, we have animation. What? Okay, so nice. So when we want to do unit testing, so traditionally, you write all your unit tests manually. And then if you wanted to do security unit tests, you would write all of those manually as well. And so you would take a copy of your regular unit test, and then it's like, well, I'm going to go find some payloads. A payload means like malicious code that tries to do something bad. So I'm going to try to, do SQL injection. I'm going to try to do cross-site scripting. So you would have to code all of those yourself. And it was a slow process, and it's expensive because it takes lots of dev time. And so what we did at Bright is automate it, because automation makes things faster, and it makes life better. And so instead of you having to write all of that logic in, you just call us, and then we do that heavy lifting for you. And so these are some examples of when you could do some of the testing. So you could test for cross-site scripting in your unit testing, and then not test until the CI/CD for SQL injection, because you need a database attached to do a proper test for that. So you could phase in different parts, some of these testing if you want to. And so this slide is someone named Bar that I work with, who's really funny. And we like to send pictures of cats with laser beams coming out of their eyes to each other. Everyone has a different relationship with their work colleagues, and that's ours. But he made this slide for us about like his suggestion of when you should do each test so you could go as fast as possible. Okay, so now let's do a tooling win, and let's start setting some stuff up. So I believe this is where we just go to GitHub. Okay, so not yet. So I'm going to tell you about Bright first. Okay, so I work at Bright. Bright bought my company earlier this year. Yes! And then We Hack Purple is now part of Bright. And what Bright does, and I've known Bright a long time. So I was talking with them when I started We Hack Purple. And so I was one of their advisors for quite a while, and then I came on full time this year. And so that's pretty exciting. And what Bright does is they create a dynamic web app scanner, and we have a few claims to fame, and the salespeople can do obviously a much better job of this than me, but I feel are two super interesting things we do as a nerd is one, whenever we report stuff, so whenever we like tell you we have a finding, so we do the scan and we find the findings, but then we have separate secondary tests that go and validate those findings. So, oh, it's SQL injection. Okay, well, I'm going to try to like, send harmless commands to the database to see if you actually are controlling the database. Oh, we found like AWS keys to an open bucket. Well, we're going to go try the keys and see if they work or not. So we can tell you like, this key's live, you need to fix this right now. Or this key is old, you should still like yank it out of your code. That's bad, but it's not live. So there's no security incident you have to run. And so that is one of the cool things. So you're not going to get false positives generally from our tool. And if you do, you tell us and we will work on fixing it so you never, ever have that happen again. So this is important for us. But the second thing that I think that we do that's really cool and unique is the automation of security unit testing. So I haven't seen anyone else doing that yet. I heard there's another company that's trying to launch that. Good luck to them. It's a lot of work. And so that's what we're going to show you today is basically how instead of you having to write all of that logic and try to come up with exploits of your own, we did it all for you. And so the unit test will call out to our engine and we will test every single little tiny unit of code. And it's pretty fast. Okay, if you want, you can put questions in the chat and Akira will answer them for you as an FYI. And if you are stuck on something technical, Art will probably help you, or Akira. Or we actually have some other people in the background too, in case you need help. Okay, next. Okay, so, oh, this was what I was supposed to say when I was rambling on. So basically, so this was built by marketing, this slide. So our product's built for software developers, but it is trusted by the security teams because they're the ones that buy it from us. Basically, try to make it really easy to use. We try to have very, very good coverage. The scan goes pretty fast, but we're sort of obsessive about trying to make it faster. We just had a really cool meeting this morning about another cool thing Art's doing to make it even faster, which is awesome. And yeah, basically we have lots of different types of payloads that are already ready, so you don't have to write all that stuff and we just automate it for you. We're even adding business logic tests, which is pretty cool. I don't believe anyone else is doing that right now. And so we're like developing more and more types of logic tests based on like big common threat models. So all of this is like pretty nifty. And if you want to take a screenshot of this slide, better move fast because I'm going to go to the next slide. All right. Okay, so in the chat, what problems does practicing application security solve? So if you have an AppSec program, or you have an AppSec person where you work, or a secure SDLC, what problems are you solving for your business? Because you are definitely solving at, like, you might be like, oh, our security's not 100% perfect yet, so it's no good. No, if your security is improved, it's good, trust me. So someone says not looking for security issues. Someone says finding vulnerabilities. Someone says Synopsys is having this product they call Seeker, which is IAST. Is there any other product? Oh yeah, there's a bunch of IAST products on that vendors make. We don't make one. Contrast makes one. And Synopsys makes one. And there's another company that makes one, but I've never seen theirs. And I can't remember what they're called, but it starts with a P. And the lady that worked there that I met was extremely nice. And right now I'm like racking my brain for her name and their company name. I don't remember, unfortunately, but there's at least 3 companies that I'm aware of that make IaaS, but I think there's a few more. Alex says, reduce and find the vulnerabilities as soon as possible in the SDLC and don't panic when there's a security incident. Akira adds, I think that having an AppSec program or devs who are educated about AppSec, which you are all starting to be now, then you can spend way less time dealing with a backlog of security issues because they are dealt with even just a little bit up front. Oh, I like that. As an FYI, I read out the chat for the recording because later people in the recording, if I just answer questions like, what is she talking about? That's so off topic. Why is she being weird? Because they can't see the chat in the recording later. So that's why I read it out. I've had people say, oh, it's annoying when you read it out. I already read it. It's for the reporting, because there's a bunch of you here today, but there will be a ton of people later who watch this. So if you're watching the recording, hi. Okay, so interaction win. Yes. Okay, so now it's time for the workshop. And so we are all going to go here, and I'm going to exit out of this so I can copy this in, or actually, oh, there you go. Akira put in the chat. Basically, I don't know if you know, Akira reads minds sometimes. Pretty nifty. Okay, so I'm going to exit out of here, and we're going to go and do stuff together. So we are going to go here. And this is my outline of reminding me of all the things I need to do. But I managed to close all the other things. So I'm going to make this pretty big. That's pretty big. And then I have all of you on the side. Someone asked, cool, how do you pitch for convincing the management to run a security program? Do you have any advice on that? I do. So I got approval for my first AppSec program because I was an incident responder and I just kept responding to security incidents constantly. And it turned out 26% of them were AppSec incidents. However, of the cost and the time, they took up almost 70% of the incident response time and budget. And they were by far significantly more expensive and time consuming and embarrassing. We had some things that became known outside our organization, which is sort of an incident responder's worst nightmare. I got asked for media quotes and I was like, and so basically I presented to them like it cost this much in the past like 6 months due to AppSec incidents, but in the next 6 months, I could implement this program, which would cost us a fraction of that cost. And I believe that I could eliminate most of the security incidents to do with software that we've had. They will never happen again if we do this. There still might be AppSec incidents from other things, but I can make sure we never repeat those ones. And they approved it on the spot. My boss told me, like, make a presentation, use statistics, explain return on investment, and show them why. Don't just say because security, because you sound like a moron. You need to explain it in business terms. These are smart people. So I followed his advice and did all the things, and they said yes. And I was just shell shocked. I was like, what? They just said yes in one meeting? Oh my gosh. So, and then I did it, and it was awesome. So if you can explain a return on investment for them, also, you know, like previous harm to your company, whether it be financial, you know, employee information, whether it be your reputation, etc., that really helps. One more thing, Art added regarding Seeker, actually Offer Moore, who is the creator of Seeker, is on our advisory board. He's actually really cool. I've met him a bunch of times. Okay, so you need to wait for some security incidents. You are most likely having security incidents and don't realize it. It wasn't until I got better and better at AppSec, I learned how to look for them and spot them and stop them. Another thing you can do, Mohammed, is show return on investment in other ways. So we haven't had like a public security breach yet, but you know, we have this many criticals, and any of those could become a security breach, which would theoretically cost this much. But to prevent it, it would cost that much, which is a much smaller number. And you know that it's an investment, because it is. That's what security is. It's an investment, and it's part of quality of your product. It's a bit like having insurance, if that makes any sense. But anyway, okay. So if all of you are here, what I want you all to do is come and fork this repo. So there's a cool button here. So I'm going to add this. I'm going to actually move the pictures of us over so I can see the GitHub screen better. And I'm just going to be like, oops. Is this big enough for everyone, or do you want it bigger? So let me know if this is not big enough. So I'm going to press the fork button. I think it looks more like a threek, but you know, to each their own. So I'm going to press the fork button, and I'd like you to all press the fork button. I'm going to be the owner. She hacks purple. I'm going to just leave the repository name as is. I'm going to copy the master branch only. I don't feel like I need a whole bunch of other branches. Like, I'm fine. I'm not planning on contributing back. What I'm planning on doing is like following their workshop. So I'm going to create my fork, press this button, and then it did it. And then what I want to do is I want to copy this code down. So you can copy a zip file. You can use GitHub Desktop, you can use HTTPS, you can use SSH. if you have the GitHub CLI. So there are a lot of options for you to get this code. There's also code spaces, but we're not doing that today. So just on local, so you press the code button here, you get these, and then you choose. So I chose to do a zip. I already downloaded it because I'm that type of person that likes to do things in advance. And so in my Finder, you can see here, I have this folder. So it was a zip, I unzipped it, and then I went into here. Also, we don't probably need to see all of my other windows, could probably ignore those. Don't need to see how many apps I have. We have a lot of apps. There is a question in the chat from Maria. Oh, so this is a question for later, but it's how do you squeeze in fixing of AppSec issues in your current dev practices? That is a great question. To my co-panelists, please don't remove that. Let's answer that later. That's an awesome question. Okay, so you should have a folder that looks like this with this cool stuff in it. I let it show me all the hidden files because that's what I'm like. And in case you can't tell, I'm working on a Mac. So let's go back to our GitHub and then let's look at all of the instructions. So basically, if we scroll down, we see the README. And then there's instructions of how to run through this workshop. So if we go down a little further, like we could read about SecTester, but we just care about setup. So we are maybe, 15% or 20% down the page. There's a lot of stuff on this page. So if you could go to setup, so we want to fork and clone this repo. So cloning is us copying it to our local computer. So hopefully everyone did that. If you're having problems with that, please let me know so I can show you again how to do it. Then we need to make a Bright account. So I'm going to copy this link. So I would like all of you to go here. So our website is brightsec.com, but our company used to be named Neuralegion. And so we still have, we're kind of in the middle of rebranding. So some things are still going to say Neuralegion on them, like our GitHub account and some of our app links. I'm sorry for the confusion, but basically the marketing team got a bit ahead of themselves and released all of the updates to the name and everything faster than the dev team. So we're in that little weird tiny window in between. So please just, Neuralegion is trustworthy. That is us. Okay, so Renee asks, why do I need to register an account to use the tool? Is it for licensing reasons, or are the actual security tasks performed online in the Bright Cloud instead of offline, local, or on-prem? The later would mean sending sensitive data, which is not good for security. Well, Renee, Bright is a SaaS product. And so we do all of the heavy lifting and testing within our cloud, which is a tenant within AWS. And yes, some companies don't like that. And some companies want us to deploy within their own cloud tenancy. And for big enterprises, we make special exceptions like that. But we have tons of customers that have decided that they trust us enough to test their application for them. We don't save any of your vulnerability data, and we are willing to show customers that sign NDAs more information about that to ensure that they are comfortable. But yes, it is true. The testing is not done locally on your machine. It is too heavy. Your computer will crawl to a standstill because we have many, many powerful engines that go very fast to make this happen. So you either have to decide that you do want to trust us or you don't. And if you want to talk to sales about it, you totally can. And they have lots of stuff and they know more about all the details than I do. But yeah. It is definitely all the heavy lifting is done in the Bright tenancy of AWS.
Can I just add one more thing, Tanya? Just one more point, specifically for today's workshop, where we're going to show you how to run unit tests with our engine. This is actually a way for you to avoid sending sensitive data because these are just unit tests. There shouldn't be any sensitive data like credentials and stuff like that there. So it's another way of convincing your own company of saying, we should run these tests in the unit test rather than in production where you need authentication, etc.
So that's awesome, Art. Thank you. I didn't know that. That's a really good point. This is why I brought backup. Cool. and why I brought a lot of caffeine. Okay, so get a Bright API key. So we are going to go to the sign up page for Bright and we're going to get an API key. So how do we do that? So we go here and we sign up. Just a second, I'm going to log out because you're not supposed to immediately see it. I want you to see it. So we need to make accounts. You can make an account whatever way you want to, but the easiest way, so what you want to do is don't have an account, try it free here. And then if you sign up with GitHub, it is very fast. If you don't sign up with GitHub and use your email, it's slightly slower. We can skip the onboarding wizard for today's workshop. Oh, we can? Akira, can they still run unit tests without making a Bright account? I thought we need.
Oh no, so
they
you
still
have to make an account. So you would go to this page and you could sign up with GitHub, Google, or your email. After that, what will happen is it will prompt you to go through a setup wizard. You actually don't have to do the setup wizard today, because everything that is in that setup wizard is going to be in our CLI, which we're going to install in a second here. So just go to app.neuralegion.com/scans, and that's where we're going to get our API key. So if you sign up with like a new email or sign up with GitHub or Google, it'll prompt you, of course, to verify your email. And it will, again, bring you to a setup wizard, but you can just push like skip this wizard, or you can go directly to app.neuralegion.com/scans. That is in the chat as well.
Okay, so we don't need to install the repeater to make the unit tests work?
So we do, but we don't need to do it via the setup wizard. We're going to do it in just a moment with the CLI.
Yeah, so just to add to that, actually the sec tester, the unit testing SDK has a built-in repeater. So that's why we don't need to manually install the CLI with the repeater. We just use the SDK that's in this demo project, and it has everything built in within it by design.
Okay, cool. So all of you make an account. You can use your email, you can use GitHub, you can sign in with Google. It's up to you. I like to use GitHub personally. I am a big fan of GitHub. I like to have a lot of stuff connected to my account. I find that handy and nifty. And since yeah, let us know if you have problems getting your account open, because then we can fix that for you. So let me make this bigger. So hopefully this is nice and big for everyone. So to make an API key, we go to the little person here, which is your account. And then you go to user settings. And so you click the gear that says settings, we click there, and then we scroll all the way to the bottom. As you do more stuff, this might be a longer page for you. I'm just going to move the chat because it's in my way. And you just click this button that says create API key. I'm going to show my API key on the screen, and I'm just going to hope you won't all steal it because that's rude. And if you do that, I mean, the only thing you could do is like run tests on this, and I am going to delete it after the workshop. But basically, ideally, you won't steal it, but I know that it is a risk that some of you will. And if you do, what you'll do is just ruin the workshop for everyone else. And that kind of sucks. So there is risk, etc. So Jonathan said, I was using a temp email, but you blocked it. You could probably have a test account where we don't have to sign up to test your product. We could do that, but honestly, we do these webinars in hopes that you will actually use our product and you will actually like want to try it out and give it a chance. And temp emails don't do that because you won't receive any messages from us. So then we don't know if you are actually going to run a scan and do things or need help, etc. Okay, so let's create the API key. I'm going to call it my API key, which is a very creative name. And because we're in a workshop, I'm going to click select all. I don't think I would normally want to have every permission. Like this is certainly not following least privileges, the concept of least privilege by just clicking everything. But ideally in your own space, you would start with select all, and then eventually you would figure out which ones you actually need and which ones you don't. And you would minimize the amount of permissions that you give. But so like we're scanning something that's public, so it's really easy. But generally, you're going to be scanning things behind your firewall, and there's certain things you will or will not need in order to do that. So I'm going to click create, and it's going to show me this key, and I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to leave it open. I'm leaving it open because I know I'm going to need it in a few minutes. Okay, so next, so we created the Bright API key, and then we need to save the Bright API key. So we are going to add it to this repository that we cloned as a secret. And so it's going to be an environment variable named Bright token. Okay, so to do that, we come up to the top and we click the settings tab here. So we go to the repo we forked, we go all the way up to the settings, we click here, and then we scroll down to secrets. So secrets is here on the left. So there's security and then secrets. So it's third from the bottom. And then we are going to click, I believe, actions. So GitHub changed this recently. And I'm pretty sure actions is what we want because it's not Dependabot and it's not code spaces. So it must be actions. And then we want to create an environment secret. So we are going to manage our environment and add environment secrets. There are no environment secrets. I know. That's because I'm going to make one. So I'm going to go new environment. Oh, Akira, am I supposed to do it this way or is it actually a repository secret? Because
Yeah,
I think
I was just about to butt in. Yeah, it's just a new repository secret. So there's also there's two ways to do this. You can do this through the action secrets where you get a new repository secret and you put in your API key. We're also going to go over really quickly. If you just want to put it directly in your end file, in your env or your environment file, you can do that as well, just in the project itself. It's up to you. The way to do it here through the new repository secret kind of might be a little more secure. You might have less accidents, like if you're accidentally pushing your API key, if you're pushing your code to GitHub. But you can also just put it directly in the env file as well. So yeah, Tony, if you want to do it this way, that's totally fine. And then we can show the other way, but we also only have like 15 minutes. We are running a little bit short on time, so I want to make sure that we get to a little bit more to the meat. So let's maybe just do it one way and then we'll go from there. Oh, it has to be, sorry, the name needs to be bright_token, all in caps.
Okay. So there's a question in the chat about being able to use the Bright solution on-prem or in your own cloud. And basically, if you talk to our sales team, there are some concessions that can be made, but I don't know the deals on that. And like you would have to call them and ask, because I agree there are certain rules, especially based on different countries. So I live in Canada and we have something called data sovereignty laws. And so our data is not allowed crossing the Canadian border. And so there's like lots of things that we weren't able to do as a result of that when you work for the Canadian government. And so, yeah, Microsoft and Google and AWS, like a bunch of them made a ton of concessions for us. And so sometimes we'll have things deployed into the Canadian version of Azure or whatever cloud so that we are allowed to use whatever the thing is. And generally, if you have money, companies are willing to make sure that they can work with you. So if you want to talk to them, just let us know. So now we have a repository secret and it is named Bright Token, and we are pretty pumped about this. And so we're going to go back to the code. Akira, I thought we had an hour and a half for this workshop because in my schedule, it was like it's scheduled an hour and a half as the time of the workshop.
Oh,
So
okay, great. Well, then maybe I'm wrong and we do have an hour and a half. Great. I do know that sometimes people tend to drop after an hour because, it's people's lunch times and whatever. So if you do need to drop, feel free to look for the recording later. It will be available. We're going to put it on our social media. We'll have it on our YouTube channel. We'll also put it on our newsletter. But so far, so good. We're working really well here. I think we'll be able to at least get the test running in the next 10-15 minutes.
nice. Okay, so I am going to open up a terminal window because we are going to run stuff in our terminal window. And so in our command line, we want to install some dependencies. So we're assuming that you have npm installed. So if you don't have npm installed, ask in the chat how to do that. And so I'm going to make this way bigger so it's easier to see. And so I'm going to type npm space CI. And it is doing a bunch of stuff. It says there's an error. Oh, this is because I'm not in the window. So I'm not in the right folder. So I'm going to figure out where I am. And I'm like, oh, I have to go to my downloads. And then again, I want to be in the sec tester window. So cd sec tester. And then I'm going to ls again. And I'm like, okay, so now I want to run npm CI. So let's try this again. So it's already going better. Is this big enough for everyone to see?
Maybe make it a little bigger.
Okay. Is that good or even larger? I don't mind. I just don't want it to be annoying for anyone. Okay, so so it says there's some deprecated things inside of npm CI, and they have vulnerabilities, which is not awesome, but it appears that it ran. So let's run some other commands. So we're gonna copy a file. So basically,
can I butt in really quick? So one reason that we have high severity vulnerabilities, everyone, is because this is an intentionally vulnerable application, so that we can actually find security issues on it. So don't get too panicked when you see high severity vulnerabilities. It's because the application itself is very vulnerable. And then the next thing I want to say is that if you did not do the GitHub secrets that Tanya and I just went through, this would be what you'd have to do. This would be to put your GitHub secret, your Bright token, your API key directly in your env file.
And you have to do that manually, and just FYI, it's not as fun. Here it's I don't think that's a technical comment.
It's very technical. Are you kidding me?
Okay, so the next thing we need you to do, so we're going to do some Docker stuff, but that means we have to turn on Docker. So if you could turn on Docker. So if you're in a Mac, open a Finder window, go to Applications, find Docker, double click it, and then you will see this cute little logo over here that is basically the Docker whale blowing air out of and moving the containers around. It's very adorable. So ideally you have this running, and then we're going to come back to our terminal and we're going to basically, oh, not that. We're going to run docker compose up -d. And so it is going to launch our thing for us. Awesome. So it has started our thing, and then we want to migrate some data to it. So it started our database, but we're we want to migrate data into the database because otherwise our app doesn't do very much. So we're running a migration, and then we're going to start up our app. And our app's a little baby API basically that only does one or two things. So npm start. And so it is starting, and to see it running, we want to go here. So I'm going to copy this. So I'm going to put it in the middle of the screen. So we did npm start, and then it looked like this, which means it's actually running. And then we're going to open it up and see it. Ta-da! And we have a beautiful Swagger file, and it does stuff, and it's awesome. And if we want to, we can try things out. So we could click the try it out button, and then we can do things like first name equals Tanya, and then last name equals awesome sauce, because we can do that. And then I'm going to execute, And then we see down here, oh, look, first name Tanya, last name Awesome Sauce. And so your little Swagger API is working and it seems to be pleased with life. And this is good. And so it should look like this. It should do stuff. We tried it out. And that is pretty good so far. So then what we want to do is we want SecTester to test it. And so this is the part where it gets kind of exciting. And so we're going to copy this command npm run test:sec. So we're going to come over here, but we can't do it here because it's busy running our API. Oh no. So I'm going to press Command N for a new one. So a second terminal window, and you can open it in another tab in the same terminal if you want. It's up to you. I made this window too big now. Just a second. There we go. So I'm going to paste that in here. So npm run test:sec. And I'm going to press enter. Code. Oh, I'm in the wrong folder. Dun, dun, dun. So we're going to go to downloads again, and we're going to go to SecTester again, and then we're going to run it again, and this time it'll go way better. Oh, yes. Fail. Dun, dun, dun. We believe that it has cross-site scripting in our app. It is ticked off at us. It's like, you've got problems, Tanya. We ran one test. Oh, we ran 2 tests and 2 failed. Test suite, oh, 1 test suite and 2 tests, and both of them failed. So we have SQL injection and we have cross-site scripting. So we're having a very bad AppSec day. So this app is intentionally vulnerable. I am really hoping that in less than 1 second, this said 2 milliseconds. I'm really hoping that basically your app does not have results like this, because obviously this is awful. You wouldn't want to see this in a non-workshop environment to have not only injection, but also cross-site scripting. That would be a total disaster. But was everyone able to run it? Like, was everyone able to like just basically do npm run test:sec and then get some results? So you have to run it from the folder where you downloaded or cloned that code to. You have to have it running so that our scanner can, yes, Jonathan, awesome. So you can see it says like you're going to fail and life's going to be bad. And then there's more that exists within the tutorial, so you can actually do more stuff if you want to. But I was thinking, since we have 5 minutes left, I would go through the rest of the scan results, and then we would see if anyone needs help. I'm going to go through the rest of the slides. I'm going to see if anyone needs help, and then I'm going to explain how we could fix these things if we wanted to. So it was running, but very slow, around 300 seconds, and only the SQLI and 2 errors. Oh, interesting, Alex. Do you want to paste your errors into the chat so we can see what happened there? Maybe you had a timeout error. Because 300 seconds is a long time. Like this, as you can see, our app does not do a lot. So you can post users, get user ID, delete a user ID. Like that's it. It does not do a lot. Oh, someone sent a message just to me. Make sure that you set a token in the environment file. I'm going to let everyone. So Artem, you sent that to me directly. You need to send it to everyone. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to finish up the slides. Oh, wait. I'm going to finish up the slides so we can see what happens at the end and you can get the resources. So we forked the repo. Again, we did some winning. We examined the Swagger file. There's just so much winning. Okay, so now I'm going to go over some of the resources. So I'm going to start the slideshow just for now. So basically, there are some resources that you might want to know about. So you can email Akira. So she's the one that made all of this, just to be clear. Her and our product team made this giant demonstration together, and then she turned it into a workshop. The Bright blog. So we have a lot of information about mitigation advice, about unit testing, about DevSecOps and DevOps, and all sorts of other things that you would assume that a company that makes an application security tool might be obsessed with. There's We Hack Purple. So this is the online community that I started and that so many, like thousands and thousands of us are a part of now. And we do monthly events. We constantly are chatting and having conversations and solving problems together and networking. There are a whole bunch of courses. There's 7 full-length courses now and tons of mini courses. All of it is free thanks to Bright acquiring us. So if you're going to use the Bright scanner and you're having problems, we have this docs area where basically there's tons of documents that can help you with, like, if you're troubleshooting, if you want to like configure your scans so they're faster or they do certain things, all of that is there. Then there's our GitHub, and I know it says Neurolegion. Eventually it will say BrightSec, but right now Neurolegion is what we've got, and that's okay. And there's a ton of examples of different ways that you can use our product. And then we have a Discord. It's not superbly busy, like compared to We Hack Purple, it's very slow. But if you just want to talk about Bright or want some Bright support really fast, that's a place where you can go to get it. Next, this is the Sec Tester project. So you already all have this open ideally and have seen this and like it and know what to do. And then lastly, you will receive a certificate of participation for attending this event. A lot of people find that having certificates really helps them at work. If you don't want it, just delete it. But basically, we'll email you a PDF of your certificate of participation for showing up here today as a sign of our appreciation. And then lastly, do we have questions? And I feel like we do. So, how's everyone doing? We have some questions in the chat I'm going to start answering, but okay, so Jonathan asks, what's the big difference between BrightSec and Sneak? So what Sneak does, they have sort of like a Swiss Army knife. So they have 4 tools. And they have static application security testing. They have software composition analysis. They have infrastructure as code, like scanning the infrastructure code part. And then they also have a thing that scans containers. We don't do any of that. What we do is we dynamically interact with your web app or your API, or and like we can do that directly to the API or directly to your web app, or we can do it through your unit testing. And so we do dynamic testing. So your app has to be running, your unit test has to be running, while they do all static things where they need to see the written code in order to do that analysis. I think they make a perfect combo for a set of tools. Like we complement each other very nicely, but we don't at all do the same things, which is fine. I'm going to have Vandana Verma on our webinar in October. I can't remember what day. I know I should know what day. I think it's the 10th, but it might be the 8th. But anyway, Vandana's going to come on and we're going to talk about basically all the different things that you can do like automatically in a CI/CD to test all of these things. And she's from Sneak. So she's going to definitely cover all of those things and you can ask her all of these questions. If you stay on our newsletter and don't unsubscribe, you will be invited to it and a whole bunch more. All of our webinars are free. Okay, another question. Will this be posted? I just noticed I have a meeting and I have to run off. Yeah, Luke, it will be posted. So when you attend this or you don't attend this, a few days later, we're going to send you a link. Thank you for coming. Send you your certificate of participation and also a link to this on YouTube so that you can see it later. So, oops. So I answered that one. Someone just joined late. Yes. So the anonymous attendee, yes, we are. This is recorded. And because you signed up, you will receive an email with a link as soon as it is available on YouTube. And then the last question that I saw that was really good was from Maria. How can you squeeze fixing like all these security issues when you're, developing software and you're running out of time? You have like deadlines and things to do. And the answer is they're like many-fold. It's not twofold, it's many-fold. So one, you need to talk to the devs and prioritize. You don't usually fix every single thing you find immediately. Often, the first time you scan something, you're going to find a lot of stuff wrong, which can be really discouraging. So I ideally like to ask everyone, oh, just a second, I just realized I'm not on the last slide. Aha, yeah. Ideally, you negotiate with them and say, listen, we found, 16 things wrong. There's 2 I'm really concerned about. Could you fix those in the next 2 weeks? I know you have a bunch of deadlines, but they're really critical. And here's why they're critical. And here's why I'm concerned. And then in the next 3 months, I'd like it if we could look at these and not make new vulnerabilities. So if new vulnerabilities happen when you test your new code, I need you to fix it before you release it. But for older ones that were already in there, could we do this in 90 days? And then the other ones, in 120 days or 365 days, depending. And so I try to just negotiate and keep doing touch points with each team and asking them how they're doing, if they need help. Sometimes they just don't know how to fix things. And it's not that they don't want to. Another thing I do is like for all of the old apps, so like legacy or things that are they're already in production and no one's currently working on them. I ask if you are going to open it up and fix a bug for a client, I ask that you fix one security bug at the same time, please. If you're going to open it up, we're going to have to do QA all over again. We're going to have to do like all the work to release it and like change management board or every other thing. Could you just fix a security bug at the same time? And often devs are open to that. So they don't want to open something covered in cobwebs they haven't looked at in 4 years to fix a security bug. But if they are already doing it, they're already in the context. It takes not that much more effort depending upon the bug. Cool. Artem, you keep sending private messages to me, and I appreciate that you are troubleshooting for someone else, but you have to send it to everyone, not just me, please. So I'm going to just copy what you said, and I'm going to send it to everyone. Oops. Oh, copying is not working for me. Oh, there we go. So Alex, that's a solve for you. And yeah, so at this point, I think that we're good. We've answered all the questions that are in the Q&A. We have answered, I think, almost all the things in chat except Alex. I'd like to thank all of you for coming today. I would be super excited to hear from you if you use SecTester on something at work. So you can like run lots of scans per month for free. That's the way we set it up. So if a giant company is using it constantly, we would like you to pay for licenses. But if you're just sitting there like trying it out and playing around with it, you can do all that for free. And so if any of you do it, it would be really cool to hear from you. So I'm Tanya Janka. Akira Brand was with me here. You could send it to our Twitter, Bright AppSec. You could send it to us on LinkedIn, which is just Bright. You could send it to us in an email. Like there's lots of ways to get a hold of us. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your help. I look forward to seeing you at our next session. Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Akira just put her email in the chat. So if you need some help and some troubleshooting, she is there. And with that, we're going to wrap up for today. Bright has 1 to 2 workshops or 1 to 2 webinars. Sometimes it's hands-on, sometimes it's like a fireside chat, sometimes it's a panel, sometimes it's just a conversation between 2 security folks about how we can try to do better. And so I want to let you know that you'll receive invites to those unless you unsubscribe, and I hope to see some of you at those as well. So there's one last comment. The best security strategy always is planning, but the plan can have a gap. We need other perspectives to see that before incidents happen, and it is the new path. Oh yeah, I totally agree. Thank you everyone so much. I really appreciate you all being here. This would be really boring if all of you were really quiet and said nothing the whole time, so I really appreciate the participation. And with that, we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.